Let's get into Chris. He is the CEO of Mymo, and he is our guest today. So, Chris, welcome. Thank you for coming on.
Yeah, thank you guys for having me. It's great to be here.
Hey Chris,
Awesome.
how are you, man? Chris is the co-founder and CEO of Mymo. Mymo is going to be our sponsor for the next 8 weeks. I think this is extremely timely. So obviously I had a chat with Chris, but I'm going to have him introduce himself and talk a little bit about Mymo, how it started, what they do, and the floor is yours.
Yeah, thanks a lot. No, I think it's really fortunate timing with the topic you guys are about to talk about for the next few weeks. It's actually completely coincidence, but it's effectively what Mimo is all about. So, started Mimo back in 2022. My wife is an independent worker. She has an Etsy shop. She's a Beachbody coach. She's also a contract ER nurse. And my first kind of experience with gig work and the challenges that you have, like financially, is when we went to buy our house and nobody would give her a mortgage. She has an 800 credit score and they wouldn't even put her on our mortgage. And I kind of thought, like, that's very odd given, what I know about her, how much money she makes. And so to me, my background is actually in finance. And so I started talking to banks and figuring out kind of why they couldn't lend to gig workers, and realized very quickly it's a much harder life to live, to be an independent worker, to have individual sources of income that are variable, and realized pretty quickly we could actually solve that problem. And so Mimo is actually built exactly for what you described, which is we call it the operating system for finance for independent workers. So what that means is today it's, you track all of your income in one place, both your W-2 income and your gig income. Like, lots of people have different mixes. It looks very different to everybody. It's all individualized. And so getting that all in one place so you can actually budget and know how much money you're making, and then set goals for yourself. And what we find is a lot of people think they're making a lot more money than they are, or they're not thinking about taxes, they're not thinking about the wear and tear on the car. And so when you say, I'm budgeting off of $1,200 a week, but I'm only making 1,000, well, then it does feel like the money is always running out. And so we help users track all that in one place, set goals, get easily updated about all those things, and then they can get paid in one place. We have kind of, the standard banking capabilities of get paid 2 days early, all those different things with a debit card and all the other rest of it. But what we really wanted to do is start adding things onto that to help you live a better life. So, like, we do automatic tax estimates. We create a separate account and we'll start withholding your taxes for you. And then as you spend on the debit card, we actually move some of that money back to your checking account when you have deductions, for example. And so to us, it's not about, everyone in Silicon Valley talks about financial literacy, and we think it's not about that. It's about financial doing. And so that's our mission, is to help our users live a better life and make money a lot easier for people who do
Yeah,
good work.
I couldn't agree with you more. I mean, financial literacy is something that's really lacking in the gig work community. It really is. We do our obviously surveys, and we talked about it quite a bit in the past 6 months about do you know your costs? What are you doing for it? I mean, a lot of people just think it's just I drive and make money, or bring in some cash, pay some bills,
Right.
but then the money's gone at the end. Just like you said, at the end of the month, you're just kind of pinching for pennies, and you're just stuck in this wheel or hamster wheel, right?
Yeah.
So it seems like Mimo is like I'm not going to say financial advice, but it's just basically budgeting tool. Commingle pretty much all the income sources you have, because you may have a W-2, and then you also have doing some DoorDash or Uber on the side for a few $100 a week, and those are all important things to just bring everything together and present you with a bigger picture of what you're doing, right?
Yeah, and we see, like, a lot of our Uber drivers log in every day before they start driving to see how much money they've made that week, and then figure out how much they need to drive. And when you have a clearly kind of, like, when you look at the data we have, um, just the first 6 weeks after using Mimo, drivers make on average 8% more, just because they're starting to understand their income a little better. And then if they set a goal in Mimo, they actually make 12% more on average, because it's starting to kind of really be honest with myself and say, this is where I want to be. And if I'm falling short, then I'm going to put in a little bit of extra time, or drive more intelligently, kind of when I'm going to drive and when I'm making the most money. Um, and so again, that's kind of where we've started today. In the long run, is to say, actually, we see a lot of our users setting goals to buy cars.
Yeah.
And we have to, how can we help you do that? How can we find partners who can help you do that? Because again, my experience was that it's a lot harder to get access to credit or manage your finances when one platform pays this day, a different platform pays that day, this platform pays 2 weeks, this is weekly, this is daily, it's a much more complicated life. And so we're just trying to make that much simpler as a starting point, and then basically ask our users, what are you trying to achieve by doing gig work? Are you trying to save a little bit of extra money for a car purchase? Are you trying to get a house? What are you trying to do?
Yeah.
And it's on us to figure out how we can help make that possible.
Yeah. So you said something that's interesting, actually, like a couple of minutes ago. You said users of Mimo, increase their earnings by 8% to 12%. And that's the name of the show, Show Me the Money Club. We're trying to make you more efficient, right? We're trying to make you more, utilize your hours that you're out there and be more efficient in how you can make money. And trust me, as a veteran driver, I know by being more efficient, I can make 10% more money. And then now I have a tool that I can use that kind of guide me to how to become more efficient. To us, it's like really, really important at these times because the pay is what it is.
Right.
These companies control it. And then if I can knock an extra 10% by using a tool that's free to use, I'm all for it. Yeah, a couple of questions that I know they're going to come up, and I know I will get like probably 50 emails at the end of the show. It's like, yeah, but they're collecting our data, privacy issues, all these other things, right? Can you talk a little bit about that to our audience, because I know what the differences are, and then after that we'll get into, obviously there's competitors in this space, and we should talk about how you're differentiating yourself from those as well. But let's first talk about the privacy issues that a lot of people are concerned about.
Yeah, absolutely. So first of all, we're SOC 2 compliant. We've been audited and have kind of security as a core principle for our app. But the other core principle for us is that it's your data. These are your goals. This is very personal. Like that's when we talk about differentiation for Mimo, it's about taking whatever kind of financial advice is out there, but applying it to your personal situation. Like it doesn't help to have generic advice about a rainy day fund or how much you should do for this or that. It's actually very bespoke and personal to you. And so, I think if we zoom out and talk about like data and privacy, and I think what people feel like with something like Facebook is they take a bunch of my data and then they make a bunch of money and I don't get anything back in return, right? Like Facebook's a $800 billion company. There's $100 per user of value there, and I don't think I'm getting $100 of value out of it. So they're just kind of milking me for my data so that they benefit and I don't. And I think that's really where a lot of anger comes up, and rightfully so. And so what Mimo's not going to do is take your data and then just spam you with a bunch of ads for things you don't need. Like that's the antithesis of what we're here to do, and I think that's why so many people dislike the internet today. What we're here to do is say it's your data. This is your goals for how you want to live your life. And then it's our job to figure out how we can help you achieve those goals. And so that may mean, yes, I want to buy a car. And when it's time to buy a car, no bank will underwrite my income, right? Because it's really hard and they don't understand how to project it forward. And so we may need to have a bank partner ready for you who actually understands gig work and is willing to lend to Uber drivers, because this is actually an asset-based loan that's going to help you make money. That should be much easier to underwrite for a bank, but they don't have the data today. And so you can either go pull 3 years of PDFs from Uber and Lyft and DoorDash and send it to some 23-year-old in New York and have them type them into a spreadsheet, or you can say, hey, Mimo, can you do this for me and help bring me a mortgage, a car loan instead of at 15 at 6.
Yeah.
And then in that world, if we're giving you value, we would take some of that, right? But to the fullest extent possible, we want it to come out of the bank's pocket, not yours. The banks make enough money. They should pay us for that. And we should deliver you value. And when we're doing that, we'll be compensated. But otherwise, we're not just going to turn around and say, here's a bunch of our users' data, and we're going to spam you with a bunch of ads for products you don't need. Like Mint does that. I mean, I don't really like to disparage anybody else, but the goal is to say we should create value for our users. And if so, we should be compensated. If we don't, then we should not be out there slinging your data for money.
Yeah, I mean, that's great, because that's going to be a concern for a lot of viewers and watchers of ours. The other thing is, without naming names, obviously, a lot of gig workers these days do know that there are competitors for Mymo, right?
Yeah.
But then I think it's really important that as the CEO, you from the horse's mouth, you tell us the differences, the main differences, because look, apps are apps. It's just what you make of it. But when there is a different company out there trying to do something different, it's our duty to bring it to you guys. So, talk to me a little bit about that.
Yeah, look, I think there's incredible companies out there from Solo to Gridwise and everyone in between. I think where we see a very clear opportunity in white space is kind of helping you live the life you want to live outside of Uber and Lyft. Like, you're going to do the work, you're going to make the money, then what? Like, how is it actually helping you achieve your goals and helping you live the life you want to live? Like, for me, it's very clear. My wife is customer one for Mimo. Like, she was the first person to ever download our app. So this for me is a labor of love. And I think there's dignity in work. And so one of the ways we talk about differentiating ourselves with Mimo is understanding kind of emotionally, this is a harder life. It's harder to be an independent worker, but people do it for the freedom, for the flexibility to be their own boss. Like, we all had horrible bosses. I'm my own boss now. And so, like, we actually call gig workers entrepreneurs because we really truly believe, like, you've chosen to take control of your life and make a change. And so the question is, nobody's helping people do that today. Like, the banks aren't doing it. Your bank is not sitting there going, okay, you're a gig worker. Let me see your income. Let me see if I can help you get access to products that you can't get access to today. And somebody needs to do that. And I think, from like the gig workers I talk to, really inspire me is like the guy from Mongolia who moves here and lives just down the street from me. And he drives for Uber and Lyft and has his own kind of, private car service, and his wife does DoorDash. And the only thing they wanted to do was move to one of the best school districts in California so their kids can get a leg up, in life after they immigrated to the US. So that's inspirational. But who's helping him make that easier? And the answer is nobody today. So he might use Gridwise to do mileage tracking or Solo to help do income guarantees. And I think that's awesome. And those are fantastic companies. The question is, after that, what do you do, right? Because there's a very personal conversation. So I think that's where we kind of pick up where other people leave off.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I couldn't agree with you more, because I think gig workers are probably the most underserved community when it comes to, freelancers or self-employed people or whatever you want to call it. And, the numbers are growing, obviously. Look, these companies are existing on the back of the gig workers, and then now you're just going to give them a hand to get a leg up with their financial freedom, with the true financial freedom. It's not that you turn the app on and go for 8 hours a day, make a couple $100, right? It's about what you do with that couple $100. How do you make it work for you, as opposed to just, oh, look, I made $200 today. Oh, okay, great. What are you going to do tomorrow, right?
So, we see our users asking questions like, what kind of car can I afford with my income, right? And like, oh, well, who's going to help you with that in today's world, right? And that's kind of like, we have a really unique opportunity in seeing and understanding how people make money and what their goals and dreams are. And so we can actually help figure that out for our users. I think what really strikes me is when I see gig workers get mortgages and they go, what'd you do for that? It's like converted to an LLC, worked for 2 years, paid myself a salary, then got underwritten by the bank. Then I got a mortgage. Then I got a house. And then after all of that, I went back to being a 1099 and dissolved the LLC. It's like, that's insane that you have to go through all of that and your income is effectively the same the whole way through. Like, that's a bizarre, incorrect assumption from finance. And I don't think anybody's trying to solve that today. And we are.
Yeah, I agree with you. And to your credit, space could be crowded, but there is a way to differentiate yourself. So give me a little bit about also, I know what Mimo is today. By the way, did you come up with Mimo as far as my money? Is that what happened?
Right.
Is it? Oh, okay. I was kind of getting, Mimo is kind of cool, but is it my money? I'm like, okay.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, well, it's their money. That's true. So, I know what the app is today, obviously, give it a run for its money, but what's going to be added to the app, right? I mean, what are the future plans? I know what it is today, and then, but obviously, this platform is going to grow, right? And where is the growth? Where do you see the changes coming in, and what are you going to keep adding to the platform in the future?
Yeah, no, absolutely. So I think one of the biggest things for us, again, is it's not about financial education or literacy. It's actually about financial doing. So, we've actually we launched an AI tax assistant, and we actually see people asking the tax assistant questions every day about what they can deduct and how they can do this. And then and the question they're asking now is, how does it apply to my personal finances? And so the thing I'm most excited about, everyone's, really excited about AI, but the question again is, what does it do for me? Right? So you can say, hey, what's the most common recommendation from a financial advisor? It's like to have a rainy day fund. Yeah. Well, great. How big should mine be given my expenses and given my income? And then how can I get there in a year to have a rainy day fund? How much of my income should I set aside? Well, we can actually automate that entire process. Not only can we give you the advice based on all the kind of personal financial advices out there, but we can also tell you specifically to your situation how much 3 months of your income is, and then how much, and then we can open an account for you, and then we can start setting aside 5% of your income so that you get there at the timeline you need to. Or say if you work an extra 10%, you can get there in 6 months. And so we can actually help go not just from like, hey, here's a bunch of advice, now go do it yourself, but actually here's some advice, here's how it applies to you specifically, and then helping you along each step of the way. And so that'll be getting access to credit, like credit cards and credit builders. That'll be saving money, like for goals, which we already do today, but actually helping, do a better job of guiding people to the right answer for their specific unique solution.
Yeah, so it's all individualized basis, right? I mean, because everybody's, income is different. Everybody works different hours. Some people work 10 hours a week. Some people work 100 hours a week, right? So it's all going to be different. So it's basically like having your own fingerprint on the Mimo platform, right? You just,
right.
But, to us is, there's nothing more important, Chris, than people having a rainy day fund, because I really don't think they understand it. I really don't. And I think this partnership is going to go a long way.
Well, if you can't drive for a couple of weeks or anything like that, like how do you protect your family? Like, because again, everybody wants to build a better life for their family. I think anywhere you go in the world, it's the truth, right? I want to build a better life for my family.
Yeah.
And if you can't drive because you get sick or you get injured, like what do you have that you're sitting on? So that's like everybody would tell you that's first, like make more than you spend, have a rainy day fund, get out of debt. But there's like a step process to get there. But for every person, it's a little unique what that looks like. And so I think, the platforms obviously want you to drive more, and they want to gamify that and figure out how to make you drive more. And we start from the question of what are your goals? What do you want to achieve? And then how can we help you do that? And that's kind of
I agree. I couldn't agree more. My partner, Chris, highlighted a question, which is important. Actually, Daniel from your company was in there, answered one of the highlighted questions. What are the fees charged for the service? So thank you, Daniel. So as Daniel said, Mymo is tagged in or attached to Uber Eats, Lyft, DoorDash, Amazon Flex, Instacart, Roadie, pretty much all of the gig apps out there that are worth their soul, right?
Yep.
So how about this question? What are the fees charged for the services?
Yeah, so there are no fees for using Mimo. We think about it again, when we create value, we will get paid for it. And to the greatest extent possible, we want it to come from somebody else's pocket, not yours. I think gig workers get nickel and dimed, whether it's the daily pay fees or the instant pay fees or, everything. There's so many, even for my wife and the platform she uses, there's always monthly fees and nickel and diming. And so the question is, people get this wrong. The banks want to lend. The banks have to lend to be in business. That's their entire business model.
Absolutely.
And so they should pay us for helping you get a mortgage. Like that's how that should actually work, because that's their whole business model. So, to the greatest extent possible, we want that to be the case. There's some products we have on the roadmap that there's kind of nobody doing it today. And so we have kind of a roadmap for a pro feature set that would be like, free daily pay every time we can get it, right? But we'd have to charge a monthly fee for it. So there is some items on the roadmap that we may charge directly for. But again, we want to get paid when we help you do something in your life financially. And that's kind of generally going to come out of somebody else's pocket.
Yeah. I've hit on all the questions I had in my mind. I think we're going to have a great time over the next 8 weeks, talking about Mymo. I think this is super, super important. And as you said, coincidentally, we're going to start our, what does your future look like series now. To us, there's nothing more important than the future, right? You're putting the hard work in, might as well get something out of it. If it's knowledge, it's knowledge. If it's budgeting, it's budgeting. If it's, rainy day fund, whatever it is, but we're going to start talking about these things. And I think, you plug all the holes that we probably will have, but anything in parting, do you have any last words for our audience and future audience?
No, I think the critical thing for us is we're advocates for the gig economy, for gig workers. We truly call them entrepreneurs internally. That's our word for our users, because we think there's a lot of dignity in work and for people going out there and trying to build the life that they want to live kind of on their own terms. And that's not easy. And again, I think our goal is to be the person you turn to for help when you want to do those things.
All right, thanks for watching. That short little clip was from our live stream, Show Me the Money Club with Sergio and myself, Tuesdays, 6 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. Pacific. Make sure you subscribe, turn on all notifications so you get notified when we go live, as well as all of our awesome content. Make sure to check out this video right here, which will take you to the entire live stream, or check out this video right there. All right, drive smart, everyone.